Knowing Tupac while he was in jail during that time, Wendy, did you think he was about to come out of jail and turn all the way up, or did you think? Talk to me.
Absolutely. I mean, that was a given. He had so much to say. He was so prolific. He had written so much while he was incarcerated that when he came out, the plan was for him to go to the next level.
Yeah.
He did a 3-album deal with Death Row. He had delivered 2 albums at that point. The second one hadn't come out yet.
That's right.
And he knew what the third one was going to be. It was going to be called One Nation. He was dividing everybody East Coast versus West Coast, but the third album was going to bring everybody back together. He had already started recording it. He had gotten, I think, Buckshot from, what was the Beat Miners, the group with Evil D?
Yeah.
He had gotten him to record. He had gotten a few people to record already when he was murdered. But I was in the process of putting together the business plan and actively shopping him a deal at that point when he died. And that's just heartbreaking.
Exactly.
You know? Talk
to me about that time right there. What was going through Tupac's mind while you were trying to put this label and shop it for him so he can get up out of there and do what he needed to do? What were the plans?
The plan was for him to start his own company, but he was at Death Row because Death Row protected him. He felt like Suge was the power guy on the West Coast, and he was having issue with the East Coast. Like he thought, and it wasn't accurate, but it's what he thought. He thought that the East Coast powers that be were grouping together to squash him. And first of all, we had no unity on the East Coast. That was not real. Like there was never a time where Andre Harrell, Puffy, and Russell Simmons were coming together to squash anybody.
Yeah.
You know, they couldn't even start their own fucking distribution, right? Let alone use it for evil, right?
Yeah.
So they couldn't use it for good. They certainly couldn't use it for evil. So but that was his vision of what he was fighting. So he felt Suge could protect him, and Suge obviously did up to some point. Suge was able to protect him. We were shopping a deal so that he could start his own record label, but it also had community centers attached. It had daycare centers attached in major metropolitan areas. Like it was called euthanasia.
Yeah.
It was so much bigger than what anybody had ever done. And I was so like it just spoke to me like it's what I believe. It was, you know, it had educational components and it wanted to educate artists on how to structure their lives, not just their record deals. Like it was just so amazing. It was the next level to what I was trying to do.
What was that like for you, Wendy, being able to work on that project?
It was
at
amazing.
That time?
It was just absolutely amazing. And then when he passed away, it was like, oh, fuck. And when he first got shot, like it never crossed my mind that he would die because he had withstood so much.
Yeah.
And he had like been through so much successfully, right?
Yeah.
So when he first got shot, I FedExed him a get well card, and my thinking was, well, this will slow us down for a couple months, you know, while he's recuperating.
Getting better, yeah.
And then when I got the call the night before saying they were going to take him off of life support and he was dead, I was like, no. And then I didn't hear it announced. Like I was awake that whole night, like crying and upset and a little drunk.
Of course.
And nobody announced it. And I'm like, well, there's hope.
Yeah.
So there was a glimmer of hope for like 6 hours. And then it was announced that he was dead. And it was like, oh, fuck, it was true. He really was dead. Damn. And it was heartbreaking.
For you being a person that is up close and personal with a lot of these artists, especially when you go through these valleys with them, you know, the people that struggle together it brings a whole nother bond into the situation. Yes. What is that like for you when you see different artists meeting these untimely demises?
It's really hard because you know it's preventable. You know, especially because I'm older than especially now, like I'm way older than many of these artists. So I'm wiser and I see things from a different vantage point. And I realize that, you know, a scuffed shoe or somebody not liking you is not reason to take a life, you know, but at 16, 17, 18, 19, it can seem that
exactly.
That's it. It could seem like the world is against me. When when you get a little bit of wisdom, you realize it's
Ain't nobody
not.
even studying you.
Yes. You realize that sometimes just one conversation can change everything, and that's really different than, loading a gun and taking a shot.
Yeah.
So not to mention the people that you might miss and hit, all the entourage
The bystanders.
or children that's around them that could get hurt. So I always saw things a little bit differently because I was older. I was 30 when I started in the music industry. And most of my contemporaries were in their 20s. So I was just at a different stage in life and a different point of view. And I was always about education and learning and reading. So, when Pac was locked down, I sent him books. When Pimp C was locked down, I sent him books. Capone, whenever an artist went to prison, I'm sending them books every week so that they can develop their own minds. Not just rappers, like even the guys behind the scenes, the Meech from BMF, Calvin Klein from, not the designer, Calvin Klein from New York, who was a street dude. Like, I'm holding these guys down with knowledge so that when they come out, they don't have to do the same shit.
Exactly.
And repeat the same mistakes they've already made. Yeah. They can come out and start real businesses, put their skill set to work to benefit themselves, their families, and their community. And that's always been the goal.